And the other weird thing that I noticed regarding as to why our back catalog just is completely backed up is that exclusives are no longer a thing anymore. Because back in the day, exclusives made whatever console you were playing on that much special. Because I remember a time whereby exclusives were the crown jewel of the gaming industry. Like back in the day, you didn't just play God of War. You had to own a PlayStation to play God of War. You had to earn that privilege. It was tribal. It was glorious. It made us feel special. And unfortunately, today, we find ourselves having to face down the barrel of a gun that the age of exclusives is over. And that hits me right here. Because how can you say that the age of exclusives is over? What kind of nonsense are you talking about, ergo? I mean, exclusives gave us a sense of identity back in the day. I mean, I remember when, I believe it was during the PS3 era, where I was hearing these terms of exclusivity. And I was like, what the hell is exclusivity? What does it even mean? Up until somebody, a friend of mine, explained to me, I think it was my brother, by the way. He told me that when they say something is exclusive, they mean that you can only get that product on that console. I was like, hold on. Are you trying to tell me that God of War is not available on Xbox? And my brother was like, nah. You're not going to find God of War on Xbox. And you know, when he told me that, all of a sudden, my excitement for the console, for the games that I play, it skyrocketed. Because all of a sudden now, it felt like I was part of a tribe, a team. And that's when the fanboy in me was awakened. Because now, it's like when Xbox comes and they're like, dude, we got Gears of War, we got Halo. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's nice, but bruh. We got God of War. We got Metal Gear. We got Uncharted. Like, dude, come on, man. Be serious, guy. So just like that, all of a sudden, the stakes for gaming had been raised now. Games were not just awesome on their own, but now there was a sense of pride on which console you actually gamed on. And it was just special. And here's the thing, analysts. Exclusives created urgency, rarity, prestige. What kind of a gamer doesn't like to feel as though they are part of an exclusive club? Or any person for that matter. And exclusives satisfied that desire. I mean, that's part of the reason as to why Apple is such a big deal. All of their products make you feel as if you've purchased something that is the first class of mobile cellular phones, you know? And that's part of their reputation and their brand. But today, we find ourselves in the decline and the shift. Everything is going cross-platform now. Final Fantasy 16 was once a jewel of the PlayStation console. Now it's going to PC. God of War, going to PC. Ghost of Tsushima, going to PC. Last of Us 2, going to PC. Xbox biggest hits are launching on Steam, day one. So what happened? How did we get to this point? You see, analysts, there are some legitimate reasons as to why exclusives had to die. Legitimate reasons that even I struggle to come to terms with, even though I know that they're actually true and I can't really argue against it. The first reason as to why the age of exclusives is now over is that exclusivity doesn't scale. You see, development costs are through the roof and studios are spending hundreds and millions of dollars, right? So if you're gonna make your money back, you're gonna need to cast the widest net possible. So exclusivity, it seems more like a romantic idea, but on a business perspective, it's a business liability. I mean, there's a reason as to why Microsoft, when they bought Activision, Blizzard, or whatever it is, they did not make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox, because that wasn't the point. It would have hurt their bottom line had they done that. The reason as to why they kept it cross-platform is simply because they wanted to own the store shelves, which they did. Now, one of the strongest points that I had against this whole exclusivity thing dying and why we actually do need exclusives was, dude, if I'm going to spend about $1,000 on the latest PlayStation specs, your PS6, and you're not giving me a reason as to why I need to choose your platform over the competitors, then what the hell are we even doing? Why the hell would you get rid of your moneymaker? Why the hell am I spending $1,000 for a product that'll be available on other platforms even cheaper? You know, that kind of kills the reason for why I'm supporting you in the first place. What are you doing, Sony? But the thing is, just because somebody gets to experience a product far cheaper or even for free on a different platform, that doesn't necessarily take away from your gaming experience or pleasure. Think of it like this. There are people that pay for first class, and then there are people that pay for economy. Now, regardless of whether you're in first class or economy, the plane is still going to the same destination, the same place. The only difference between the two is that one of them, you are able to prostrate as much as you want and maybe even eat better food than they do in economy. But at the end of the day, your experience is not diminished because someone in economy is paying cheaper in order to get to the same destination that you're getting to. Or we can say, for example, just because you watched a movie in IMAX 3D, that doesn't take away from your viewing pleasure or experience because someone is watching the same movie for about $30 or $10 or $20 on Netflix. Exclusivity now is more about the experience rather than accessibility, which sucks because it's a damn good point. And I can't think of anything to counter that point. And the other reason as to why the age of exclusivity is over is we have console parity now. Console parity means that if there are two consoles released in the same generation, those two consoles have comparable performance and technical capabilities. They're more or less the same. Not only can they run games, but the games look more or less identical on either platform. So that's what we have now. That's what we're dealing with now. There is no game that runs on the PS5 that the Series X can't handle. And there's no game that runs on the Series X that the PS5 can't handle. Both consoles are now basically siblings with simply different colored clothing. The technological gap that used to justify exclusives is now gone. And the thing is, Sony knows this, and so does Microsoft. Sony understands that exclusives are no longer profitable anymore. It makes no sense to hide them behind inaccessibility. That's why Sony keeps releasing timed exclusives now on other platforms. Probably at some point they're going to do it even on Xbox. And that is actually going to be the future of exclusivity. Exclusivity now is just an experience, like flying first class or watching a movie in IMAX 3D. That's what exclusivity is going to become. That is the future of exclusivity anyway. Sony will keep making the PS6, PS7, PS8, PS24, and their games are going to end up on other platforms as well. But the reason as to why you're still going to buy it is because Sony will market their console as the best place to play. In other words, analysts, you'll get to have a first-class experience on the console, the premium ecosystem, the console with the hardest and baddest specs of them all, where you can experience the power of PlayStation like never before. But then after a year, it's going to end up on PC, it's going to end up on Xbox, it's going to end up on your fridge. And the other reason, which I almost forgot, as to why the age of exclusives is done, this has to do with development costs. Back in the day, games used to cost about $60, right? So $60 was enough to actually turn a profit and also greenlight a sequel. But today, we have games that have bigger budgets than most Hollywood movies do. I mean, you can't expect a dev like Miyazaki, the creator of the Elden Ring masterpiece, to tie himself down to one console. If you're a dev like Miyazaki, you want to make sure that you have full scalability. You want your product on every single platform. That is why, if you notice, FromSoft games, they still haven't abandoned the PS4. Because it makes no sense to abandon the PS4, which has the most number of people playing the console. They have it on PS4, they have their games on Xbox, they have their games on PS5. So yeah, the age of exclusives is over, and this is how we got here. And while there is a part of me that mourns the loss, the bragging rights, the console pride, if you will, there's also a part of me that kind of knows that gaming was never supposed to be locked behind a exclusivity door, you know? It was meant to connect all of us because it's our thing, you know? It's what we do.
No, fuck that! Oh, y'all got me fucked up! Oh, my mama, y'all got me fucked up!
I don't give a damn about someone not being able to play the game because it's supposed to connect us. Yeah, games you want to play on PlayStation, but you have an Xbox and you have to buy both consoles. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care. I wanted to appeal to that egotistical part of me. I want to feel pride about my console, man. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that, well, not necessarily talk about, but, you know, just bring it up, is that I know it might feel as if I'm just talking about stuff that you guys don't really care about that much, because you guys are like, you want to know about what's happening in the gaming industry, you know, how let's surgically dissect the gaming industry and point out all the parts and systems that are not in place, and, you know, the industry is infected in this area, so this should be the cause and the reason for it. Let's just say there is a reason for everything that we have been talking about since, I mean, guys, this video is already like pretty long. It's like the longest video I've ever made, because we've been talking about Ubisoft butchering Assassin's Creed Shadows. We talked about Neo Postman. We talked about the Managerial Revolution. We talked about why The Last of Us 3 is not happening. We have talked a lot. In all the things we've talked about, there's a pattern. I'm sure some of you guys have already, you know, seen it. You already know what it's coming, but I'm going to reveal it at some point, but not just yet. What I really want to talk about